Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Dimes, a college basketball podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Jamie Shaw. Jamie, how are you doing today? How you feeling?
Matthew, man, good to go. Day two of college basketball. Kid in a candy store still had an unbelievable night one. So many talking points to get to and all that. It's very exciting to be sitting here looking at your face talking hoops.
Thank you. I'm glad. I hope everybody else feels the same way. Here we are. Some primetime games, some other games that we'll touch on as well, and then we're going to talk about the freshman class, which continues to just be tremendous. I mean, living up to our expectations. But we're going to start here with Arizona, Florida, the blockbuster game for the first night. Two top 15 teams. Obviously, two powerhouse programs, two programs that look to get back to an Elite Eight, a Final Four potentially. And Arizona gets the win 93-87. And I think there's a lot of takeaways from this, even with it being, the first game in Las Vegas, neutral site, trying to figure everything out. But I mean, we got to start with Koa Peat, right? Like that's where
Yeah,
we have to
I feel
start
like
with
that's the
Arizona.
easy. I feel like that's the easy place to go with it. So absolutely.
Yeah, Koa Peat, for those who aren't aware, haven't followed him throughout the process, this is a guy who is one of the most winning players in prep basketball and USA Olympics, or not Olympics, USA, FIBA, that realm. He's won a bunch of gold medals, won state championships. And I think the biggest thing just for me, before I throw it to you here, is he's gotten so much better, I think, over the past couple years. I remember seeing him in College Station on the circuit, and it's just like, okay, I see what it should look like. And now coming over, a year and a half, 2 years later, you see the physical transformation. We saw it over the summer. We talked about it, the excitement to see him. He ends this game with 30 points on 11 of 18 shooting, 7 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals in 36 minutes. A tremendous game from Koa Peat, who leads the way. We'll talk about everybody on this team and kind of our overall takeaways, but you just got to start with Koa Peat.
For sure. I mean, and when we talked about this in our Big 12 previews, we talked about it and even previewing this game and everything. The makeup of this Arizona team is awesome. I mean, they have depth, they have different looks and everything. But the X factor, which we kept talking about, was Koa Peat. I mean, you're looking at somebody last night, we were able to see the physical advantages that he has, both when it comes to straight line explosion and strength. But what he does, which is so interesting, is he's an advantage creator. He's somebody that's able to have the ball in his hand and create opportunities for his team. He was able to do that both last night with his 30 points, but also for his team, with the 5 assists as well. Put the ball in his hands. He's a great decision maker. He's a quick processor. And we saw last night that still, somebody who has 4 FIBA gold medals already to his name before entering college, multiple state championships, state player of the year honors, all of that. We saw against Florida, the defending national champions, that he is able to create advantages continuously or consistently at the highest level of basketball. And I think that factor that he brought in, his willingness to make plays for others, but also his ability to continue to make plays for himself in an efficient manner, in an unselfish manner, off ball as well, making cuts to the rim, putting pressure on the front of the rim consistently. That was the X factor for this Arizona team. And that his play last night makes this Arizona team very interesting as we look forward throughout the season.
Yeah, and it's crazy because he did it against this front line. Like that's what makes it so incredible is he did it against Alex Condon at times, Chinalu at times, Howe at times. I mean, take your pick of who was guarding Koa Peat, and some of them were, I thought, really effective where he was the screener in a lot of actions and he was able to roll. He was able to get downhill. I mean, he able to get up for that one-handed dunk where, I mean, a lob, and you're like, oh my God, it's over Alex Condon. I can't really fathom a 6'8" player with that explosion and to get up and do that. And then he's hitting face-up jumpers and little touch shots as well. Just the complete package from Peat. And like I said, doing it against this front line, that's kind of the story of the game to me is Arizona's front line in general matching up with what Florida has and going toe-to-toe with them and being able to make plays, being able to out-rebound them 41-39, get them in foul trouble where Chinalu and Condon foul out of the game. I mean, this was a really impressive performance, not only from Peat, But you go to Krivas, you go to Awaka, you go to some other players across the front line, and I think it's really something that we're going to continue to see with Arizona moving forward.
Kind of the unsung hero of that was the Ivan Karchkov,
Mm-hmm.
the Euro freshman that they had coming
Yep.
in. His
10
ability to have a double
rebounds.
double. Yeah, his ability to have a double double there, but also his ability to play off of Koa Peat, which was very interesting factor. They were able to toggle kind of in between. They're both combos that maybe lean toward the four, but they're skilled. So
Yeah.
Ivan was able to knock down. He was 2 of 2 from three. He was able to stretch the floor while they were able to get Koa kind of in the middle game, kind of loose in the middle game to open the floor and spread it around. Really like Jaden Bradley's ability to touch the paint. I feel like his ability to kind of live in the paint really put a lot of pressure on the Florida defense. And while he might not have had the assist, he had the pass that led to the assist to kind of continuously get Florida in the scramble mode type of situations. But I was really impressed with Tommy Lloyd's ability to give different looks, ability to kind of start the point of attack from different locations on the floor and be able to attack advantages in that way. Very good, very good showing on his part. Very good showing from the team, as you said, Awaka and Krivas there as well. Del Orso and Burries gave some solid minutes also. So it was just a well-rounded, nice showing there, but it also kind of didn't answer questions that we had with Florida
Yeah,
going
we
in.
can
If you
flip
watched,
this.
the SEC preview that we had, the preview leading into this game, the backcourt was a huge question. I mean, you have Walter Clayton, you have Elijah Martin, you have Will Richard, but then also their six-man, Denzel Aberdeen. Lost them all. They replaced them with Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee. Looking at what they did last night, they combined to go 8 of 26 from the field, 3 of 13 from three. Xavier Lee by himself was 3-11 from three. How do they shore that up moving forward? How do they get the backcourt kind of in unison with that front court that they do have? On the positive side, Thomas Howell looked like a dude. He was a guy that looked like he was very comfortable taking on the load of being the man. He looked very comfortable having the ball and finishing plays, creating advantages, getting to the free throw line as much as he did. How much was it? 14 times last night. He was at the top of the scouting report, and he produced and he performed. Getting everybody else around him in line with that, figuring out the backcourt. Also, as we mentioned before, Bradley was able to play in the paint a lot, stopping the opposing team from getting into the paint, stopping the opposing guards. What does that look like moving forward from Florida? I have no doubt they were in this game. Todd Golden did a good job of playing toward the strengths of this team. But there are some definite questions with Florida. I know they were a trendy pick to be a Final Four for a lot of people. I'm not sure they can start the season at this point in time talking in that manner. However, Todd Golden's shown that he can put some things together. This team does have talent. So it'll be interesting to see how they patch it up moving forward.
I was curious, and I don't know if you'd heard something. I looked it up on Twitter. I didn't see anything. I should probably go ask some of the Florida people I know about A.J. Brown, transfer from Ohio, who averaged 13 a game last year. I expected him to be at least off the bench in terms of rotation, and he didn't play at all. So I don't know if I missed something in terms of him being available or not. But without him, I mean, there's no depth even behind Lee and Boogie Fland. They threw C.J. Ingram out there, who's a wing, a freshman. That was a big stage for him early on. He made some defensive plays, but offensively, he's not where he needs to be right now if he's going to be in the rotation. So a lot of it is just Fland and Lee having to figure this out, and I do like I struggle to really be definitive here on the first game. I think they're talented enough to get something out of them, but the front court is going to have to impose itself much more assertively than it did against Arizona. And I don't care. I know you're going against P. I know you're against Krivas, all these guys that are good players, but at the end of the day, if Florida's going to be a player in the SEC, you have to bully teams. You have to win on the glass. You have to win in the paint. You have to win defensively, not foul out of games. And they were not able to impose themselves at all against Arizona. Again, credit to Arizona for that. But it is a concern now for Florida is these guards I don't know how much they can have on their plate consistently in a high level game like this. So we're gonna have to see if can the front court take a step forward, or is the back court gonna have to come around at some point.
And I want to reiterate kind of too is that even with the obvious warts that Florida has, they were right in this game, having a
They were,
chance to win this game. It was a high level contest, and
yeah,
it goes to be said that this Florida team, while they might not be the Final Four favorite, many thought heading into the season, they're talented. They're a definite top 25 team, and they're somebody who can continue to get better throughout the year to where they possibly end up the season where everybody thought they would begin it at.
yeah. It did feel like last thing on Florida before we move on. I kept watching the game. It felt like everybody was just waiting on Walter Clayton to come in and save the
Yeah.
day and hit some shots. Like in my head, that's just what it felt like. I was like, all right, so when's Walter Clayton just gonna start hitting shots? And he's like, oh no, he's not here right now. Let's move on. BYU Villanova, the second game of that doubleheader on TNT. BYU gets the win 71-66. A really interesting game where in the first half and really a little bit into the second half, it looked like BYU was going to really pull away. Went up like 12 or so and looked like they were in control. And Villanova just kept hanging around, hit some shots, hit some threes. Bryce Lindsey, I think, into the game with 4 3-pointers. He helped them stay around. Kevin Willard did a good job making the game ugly for BYU. And there was a time where Villanova took the lead, and I was like, wait a minute, is BYU going to lose this game? And ultimately, the Cougars get it done. It ends up being a 5-point win. I think it was like 9 with under a minute to go. So good win for BYU. Where do you start in terms of takeaways from this game?
Yeah, I think the Villanova was able to make this game just ugly enough to make it competitive.
Yeah.
That was my note that I had written there, that also reiterated. They shot 36% from the field. They shot 28% from three, but they were physical. They got after it. They made BYU uncomfortable, and they had to make them work to get into the sets that they were trying to run. Um, I kudos to Villanova. Obviously, but at the end of the day, BYU was just more talented.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the starting point there. Is it cause for concern? I don't think so yet for BYU. I think what we saw from BYU was they have possibly one of the best 1-2 punches in the college basketball game. They're on the wing when it comes to AJ Dybasta and Richie Saunders, combined for 36 points. What we saw a lot of last night was actions to get Richie Saunders open threes off movement. But he was also able to show he was able to get downhill a little bit, maybe get to the rim a little bit and finish as well. But there was a lot of actions to get him open looks at the rim. We saw every single time it felt like that Villanova would make a run, AJ Dybasta would make a play.
Mm-hmm.
He was very aggressive getting downhill, especially in the second half. Multiple finishes at the rim, which was which is what his team needed. It seemed in the first half he went across making the right basketball play. He was moving the ball well, showed a couple really nice passes as he was able to get to the paint and spray the ball around a little bit. But in the second half, he took over. And that's what you want your potential number one overall NBA draft pick to be able to do, is to get into the game when stuff gets close. I'm going to get downhill and I'm going to get a basket. And he showed capable of doing that in his first collegiate game. Again, as you said, it was in prime time on television, neutral court site, high major game, all that stuff going in his first, all the stuff that we hear about AJ Dybasta. This was his first collegiate game.
Yeah.
And he responded very well to that. So I think that's the main takeaway, is the intrigue that BYU has at that 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and I think like you said, I think you covered AJ really well. I think AJ is going to be a star. I think he had a really good game. He was the number one for them. Saunders was sick in this game, which is worth noting. He went 1 of 4 from 3. Had a fine game overall, but what it was, coach said he was throwing up before the game, throwing up early this morning. Like, it was not good for him. So I think Saunders will play better
Yeah.
than he played last night. And then I think Rob Wright, 5 of 16 from the field. I don't think he played nearly what his best game could be. I think we saw better games from him at Baylor last year at times. So I think Wright and Saunders will both play better than what they played last night. Again, credit to Villanova for mucking this up a bit and not making it comfortable. But I think we see better games from Wright and Saunders moving forward. that was one of my takeaways. But I mean, Keba
Something
Keita,
along
go ahead.
Something along
No.
with right there was I feel like with Kevin Young in his system, he does a lot of the initiation kind of coming from the wings. So
Yes.
Wright's job was kind of get the ball up into the half court and get it out to either Saunders or Dybansta or even to kind of initiate the action. So finding his role and finding his flow within that, I think is going to be very interesting for Rob Wright. I like to see him finish better at the basket. I thought he did a really nice job of kind of getting downhill toward the rim. Struggled a little bit finishing at the basket. And as a smaller guard, that's something I'm going to be interested to see. And then I don't think I can applaud enough the role of what Keba gave to them last night. It was a heavyweight matchup with him and Duke Brennan. I mean, they were just
Yep.
trading blows back and forth throughout the course of the game. I thought Keba Keita's motor, I thought his physicality really opened up a lot. He was set great screens. He was able to be a factor on the boards, diving on the floor. I thought that his physicality really opened some things up for the BYU team as well. Kennard Davis stepped up. Their bench, I'm going to be curious to see what their bench is able to step up and do as well. Boskovic gave some good minutes. Baker made some shots as well. Mboop came in and gave some stuff as well. I'd like to see them step into more definitive roles to be, to not be a drop off when they go to their bench. But this was a good game for BYU.
Yeah.
Brand new team, faced adversity, came out on top, closed it out. And showed the upside they have as a team.
Yeah. They end the game with, I didn't know this till I looked at the box score, 10 assists to 4 turnovers. I mean, that is very impressive. And it speaks to the system that's in place. It speaks to them not having to do too much. And I think that's promising moving forward. Like, I think we covered BYU. On Villanova, before we move on, like you said, Duke Brennan had a really good game. I was impressed with the freshmen here, and I know they didn't have like great statistical outings, but we've talked about Caden Lewis. I talked about Christian Jeffrey before. I remember seeing Christian Jeffrey, who came in with 4 of 8 from the field there. I'm not sure what their stat line will look like moving forward, but it is promising that you look at this team and say, all right, immediately we have two freshman guards here that um, can make plays off the dribble and make plays for themselves. Jeffrey's a really tough guy. I mean, able to put his shoulder into guys, get to the basket at times, and then he's not afraid to let it fly from 3. So that was another point. Devin Askew wins the game 0 of 3 in 13 minutes. I think they're going to need a lot more from him moving forward. But in general, it's not going to be pretty for Villanova in a lot of games this year. And so I expect maybe lower scoring games, physical games from them. And they'll definitely, like, I think we had them, I don't know where I had them, 5th, 6th in the Big East. Somewhere around there feels about right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do. As we mentioned, the Big East at the bottom, kind of a free for all. So it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see. And obviously, the freshmen will get better. The team continuity will get better. So it'll be interesting to see. They were able to hang on opening night.
Yeah. All right. I have one quick game to talk about, and it's Auburn beating Bethune Cookman. For those who didn't see, Auburn went to overtime with Bethune Cookman at home. It was a struggle, and I only started watching with about 5 minutes left in regulation, so I only caught the last 10 actual minutes of this game. But Auburn wins 95-90 in a game where they just could not put them away. I'm sitting here waiting, watching, and Bethune Cookman, credit to them, he kept hitting shots. They shot 12 of 23 from 3. Were really, really effective defensively in terms of their team defense. At times, Auburn got what they wanted one-on-one situations, but the Auburn aspect of this, I don't think it's cause for like slamming like the panic button or something, but my guy Tahad Pettiford has to be better than what he did last night. 11 points, 5 assists, 2 turnovers, and on 4 of 13 shooting. Just was not, and I was surprised by how often the ball left his hand. I understand like he can't come up and do everything every single time, but I mean, there were times where I thought like, all right, give him the ball, give him a ball screen, let him operate out of this, and he just would swing it to Hall or Overton or something, or Murphy, and it'd be like, okay, he never gets it back for that possession. I think Pettiford has to be more central here and has to be more effective for their offense, because ultimately Keyshawn Hall ends the game. Keyshawn Hall ends the game with 28 points, gets the line 18 times. He was very good. He helped put this game away. Ultimately, Pettiford has to be kind of the heart of their offense, in my opinion. That's one thing I'm curious to see if that changes moving forward. If they get him more of the ball here.
Yeah, for sure. And uh, that Auburn team is in a unique situation. I mean, just a month ago, possibly, their Hall of Fame coach
Yeah.
retires, and a new coach who's never been a head coach before takes over. This was game one with Stephen Pearl being a head coach. Uh, they have an entirely new roster, new players, new voices, all that stuff. And they face a team that's not your typical low major bye game with Arterio Morris, former highly rated recruit coming out, who's been through, who has had quite the story to tell when it comes to his collegiate career so far, but a talented team. And they won. It wasn't pretty, wasn't the best, but what they did was they closed the game out and they won. It'll be intriguing to see again a lot of stuff that you can clean up. But this is game one, so we'll see what game two looks like, game three, and from there. So kudos to them. Kudos to Stephen Pearl for getting his first win in that. And I'm going to be interested to see what they look like moving forward.
Yeah, last thing here. I was surprised. Again, I didn't catch the first half of this game. Philip Jovic, I was looking to see if he was hurt or something. Only played 13 minutes. They went to Sebastian Williams-Adams, a freshman who, I mean, I like him in terms of his traits and his tools and what he can do as a big, but him playing 31 minutes in this game was a lot. That was something I wasn't expecting going into this, playing him at the 5. So their front court here doesn't seem as formidable, I guess is the word. They didn't dominate the glass the way I would hope they would. Going from a team last year where Auburn just beat people up on the inside, this is a very, very different Auburn team this year. So that's the last thing I wanted to mention on that before we moved on. Let's preview, or actually let's do freshmen first, and then we'll preview Texas and Duke. Freshmen, I mean, they are just scoring the hell. They're just having great games across the board. We talked about AJ, we talked about Koa, but I mean, where do you want to go? We could read off this whole list of players, and shout out to Lucas at Red Cootie. Yeah, shout out to him, a scout for at Made Hoops. Shout out to Lucas who put together a really comprehensive list of like 20 or so names for freshmen. Yeah, man, this was really impressive. All right, who do you want to start with here, or where do you want to go with this freshman list?
Well, I think what we're seeing here that's so interesting is the amount of guys that are factors, the amount of guys that are like playing high major basketball as freshmen and really, really being focal points of what they have going on. You have the big names. We've already talked about what Koa Peat's done. We've already talked about AJ Dibansta. We've hit Darren Peterson on here. We've hit Cam Boozer. We get to see him tonight and what he's been able to do. But then you have guys looking down the list like a Caleb Wilson coming in at UNC, who's looking to be a major factor. This is a big year for UNC and what they have going on. Caleb Wilson coming in last night with 22 points, showing a lot of ability that he has to possibly be a central factor for whatever it is UNC is going to accomplish this season. Then you have somebody like a Chris Senac, a highly rated guy, but it was interesting to see what role he was going to be able to take at Houston this year. He gets to start and he comes out with a double-double with a couple really impressive flash plays at the very beginning, starting of the game. That you have there's a 6'10" guy with fluid athleticism, some touch, and ability to put the ball on the floor and create an advantage. Him putting it all together there. You have Shelton Henderson at Miami coming out with 15 points on 6 of 8 from the field. Big physical, strong guy who's able to do multiple things on the floor. You like his 6'5" frame, but he's put on a lot of weight as well. He's got great length and he's comfortable with the ball in his hands, creating advantages. He's a defensive player, plays with a lot of physicality. And then you have somebody like a Shauna Bayev, the lefty wing at Cincinnati, comes out with 18 points last night. He was a very interesting one-on-one type player, able to create shots at multiple levels, ball in hand, self-create shots at multiple levels with a high arcing release and ability to score the basketball. It seems that he came right in game one, 18 points, comfortable in what his role would be moving forward with Cincinnati. And that's just a couple of them. I mean, there's a whole lot of guys. Hans Steinbeck with Washington and his 21-point output that he had, 7 rebounds, looking very fluid, looking like a matchup problem. Listed at
Mm-hmm.
6'10", he scored on the block. He scored flashing toward the mid post. He knocked down 3 as well. Physical rebounder and all that also. So many guys, so many freshmen. You have the normal guys, the guys that we always talk about at the top. With the Michael Browns and the AJ Dibantzas and Cam Boozers and Darren Petersons, and rightfully so. They're going to be at the forefront of the conversation all the way leading up into the NBA draft. But there's a long list of guys below them who really, really, really could kind of shape the landscape of what this college basketball season could be as freshmen.
Yeah, I think you covered it well. The only thing I'll add is what strikes me looking at this list is the efficiency. We're talking about a vast majority of these guys shooting well over 50% from the field, and that includes Nate Ament, who had in his game against Duke was shot like 20 times and was not efficient. Wasn't efficient. 6 of 11 for 18 points, 9 boards for Tennessee in that game. Obviously, you have the Arkansas duo and Acuff and Thomas, 8 of 13, 7 of 15. I mean, we're talking about really efficient games from a lot of these guys. I remember for Houston, Chris Senac, I looked at the score early on, and I think he had 10 of their first 14 points and the first 12 points. He ends the game with 12 points total, but like they're filling it up. They're impacting the game in a lot of different ways. So we're going to continue to watch this freshman class because a lot of these guys have to be good for their teams. That's another thing that's not talked about is like for Arkansas, for Houston, go down the list, like these teams need these guys to be really good, and they have completely lived up to the billing in terms of exhibitions, practices, and the first games of the season.
I'm very interested in seeing the Arkansas duo that you mentioned, Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff. I mean, they looked good last night, 21, 22 points respectively, 7 assists from Malik Thomas as well. I'm interested in seeing what they look like together, how they stagger that. We've talked about it in our previews and everything too, but those two guys, if they're able to figure out the continuity, those two guys together give this team a high upside with multiple guys able to create offense for themselves and others at the point of attack. This Arkansas team is one to kind of keep an eye on as to potentially outperform preseason notions with those two guys if they're able to kind of just figure out. And it looks like early on they've been able to figure out how to play together, but continue to figure out, stagger the minutes and what that looks like continuity wise beside one another. There's a high upside if that plays out to the top end outcome.
Yeah. All right. Let's end it with a Duke and Texas preview. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the only high major game between two high major programs for Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So kind of a headlining game here on Tuesday night. Game is in Charlotte. Is that correct? You're over there in that region. My biggest question here, because I'm actually fairly high on Texas this year. Like, I don't know how much, we didn't really talk about them a ton in the SEC show, but and high being relative. Like, I think they can finish top half of the SEC. But I think Sean Miller is a good coach. I think that Swain is a good player. We talked about Pope, Mark. We know these guys for the most part. I'm just curious who guards Boozer. That's just my first question. Is it going to be Swain a lot? Is it going to be some of these international guys they brought in? Is it going to be a transfer? I'm curious to see what they do with Boozer here, because ultimately they're going to have to almost zone him to a degree, to where when he on the catch, if he catches an advantageous position, you're going to have to throw some bodies at him and make others beat you. That's really what I'm curious to see, is how aggressively does Texas play Boozer? How much do they force him to pass, and how much do they force him to try to not get the ball back in certain spots where he's obviously effective? So that's my one thing I'm looking for. I don't know if you have a prediction or anything off top, but what are you looking for tonight?
Yeah, man. So looking through this Texas team, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what Sean Miller does. Obviously, you see that they have experience. You see that they're starting five, have played a lot of college basketball. Um, this last year at Xavier, Miller's team put up 78 points per game, and as a team, they shot 39% from three. Um, it's going to be very interesting to see kind of what type of system he brings toward Texas and kind of what it looks like. It looks like you're going to have Dalen Swain maybe running the four, so we'll see what that looks like as a 6'8" guy. There's a lot of versatility there. He's able to switch up and down the lineup. He's able to aggressively play, um, up the line, off the ball, and there's a lot of movement there. Chendall Weaver, Tremont Mark, Jordan Pope. These are guys that have scored some points. Chendall Weaver, this is his fourth year in college. You have Tremont Mark, who's a 1,500 point scorer. You got Jordan Pope, who's 2 years removed from averaging 17 a game. Last year, he went 13 at Texas, playing off of Trey Johnson. So there's experience. The bench is going to be interesting to see. I'm curious as to what the bigs look like, kind of to your point, because this Duke team isn't without question as well. They're going to need somebody to step up as a number two option. That person most likely will be Isaiah Evans, who's a spurtable type guy, a guy who can go through spurts on the basketball floor, just putting up a ton of points in a row, pulling gravity and making you have to keep contact on the defensive end. But Patrick Ngongba, I think, is a huge X factor for this team. Cam Boozer is going to give you what Cam Boozer gives you. He's as steady of a factor as there is in the college basketball game. John Shire is going to do a good job of lining him up in multiple areas of the floor to be able to create advantages. And like you said, when the double team comes, Boozer's an excellent passer, able to get it to the open spot of the double team and pass against the defense. And Patrick Ngongba is going to have to be on the receiving end of some of that because depending on the lineups that they use, you get Lucina Traore, you got Matas. Not
Nick
entirely sure how I
Cody,
pronounced it.
maybe.
From the FAU, and then some other guys, bodies they can throw out there. But what does that look like if they are able to get into a high-low type of game with the leverage that Cam Boozer is able to create and the strength, but also the 6'10" nature of Pat Ngongba and his ability to stretch the floor and potentially knock down shots. I think the interior aspect of the game, the question marks that I have with Texas, kind of make me lean toward Duke here in that, but I do think this could be a close game. I first game out the rip, not entirely sure what to see with this Texas team. This is a new team, new coach, and all that with Sean Miller. We kind of know what Sean Miller is going to do with his stuff, but the size advantage it gives Duke there. We'll see what Caleb Foster brings. Caden Boozer's a steadying factor off the bench. You got Dame Sarr, Nick Amenia. There's a lot of stuff there. Malik Brown is an interesting factor. I'm not entirely sure what his availability will be tonight for the game, but he brings a very mobile player on the defensive end of the floor, one of the better defensive players in the country, actually, and his ability to disrupt what they have going on. All that to be said, I like Duke in this one. I think it will be close. Taking it home in Charlotte, and I'm very fascinated to see what Cam Boozer, the stat line Cam Boozer puts up, on night 2 of the college basketball season.
All right. So do you think Texas keeps it within 10?
Yeah, I think the final score. I think the final score will be within 10.
All right. I
Out
ask
there.
you this because that's the spread of the game. That's the betting spread. It's 10.5. So I'm with you. I actually think Texas has. I'm surprised it's this much. I think last night it was like 8 or 8.5. It's up to 10.5 now. I think Texas covers that. I think they keep it competitive. And now this is kind of a home game for Duke, obviously, so you have that to factor in as well. But I think Texas at least has the experience, and I think they can throw enough bodies at Boozer here to make other guys step up. And I think Duke gets the win, but 10.5 is a lot of points. So I'm going to take Texas plus the 10.5, and Jamie is as well. So there's y'all's betting pick for the day. We'll see if Jamie can keep it rolling.
Yeah, with the Texas, man, they have guards that can score. I mean, they do have guards that can score the basketball. And I'll be curious to see as to kind of how they continue to go throughout that. Jordan Pope is somebody that's put up a lot of points. Tremont Mark is somebody that's put up a lot of points. They can create advantages, self-created advantages, get downhill and put pressure. So I think that ability is going to be keep them close. And I think that they're able to the versatility that I think Sean Miller wants to bring on the defensive end, I think will be interesting to see kind of how Duke slows that down and kind of plays toward that as well. So yeah, I think I think it's Duke, but I think it's closer than 10 at least.
Yeah. All right. That's all we got for y'all today. Hope you all enjoyed the episode. Hope y'all are enjoying college basketball as much as we are. We'll be back later this week to recap this game and some other games throughout the week. So we appreciate y'all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not already. And we will talk to y'all later.